Hello, I am Spitty Biscuit, and with me is RoyalGoof.
Hello.
We are right here. This is our submission for AGDQ 2020 Story Mode Race for Cadence of Hyrule. Um, this game has quite an active racing scene. We actually just finished a major season, Kahoot 3 of Story Mode races. Both of us were in the playoffs for that, so we've got story mode. Will be racing in seeded mode. That is does offer some potential for donation incentive. We could have donation wars for the seed entry. We usually just use random numbers, but words and such work. So definitely could have potential for donation incentive. But yeah, I think we're about ready to get started here. Yeah, I'll count us off, Goof, and then we'll start on three,
All right.
2, 1, go.
All right. So, starting off the run, you are given the choice to pick Link or Zelda. We usually pick Zelda since she starts in Hyrule Castle, which makes overworld routing a little better, as well as she has certain abilities like Neighbor's Love here, which can reflect as well as protect her from enemy attacks, and which are very nice for speedrunning.
Yeah.
So starting room, we pick up the 50 rupees for a little extra currency at the start there.
And yeah, something you see me doing at the start there with the rapid pausing and unpausing. This is got like a gameplay similar to Crypt of the Necrodancer, which means you move to the beat and you can only move to the beat. Also, the overworld is randomly generated, so you're looking for certain landmarks, dungeons and such at the start. And so the most efficient way to look at your minimap to try and find those locations is going to be to pause between the beats to make sure that you still get a movement on every beat in the song.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, early on here we've got the find the Goron shop pretty early. That's going to be essential for later on in the run.
Yeah, mini boss. I killed a mini boss there. That mini bosses will usually drop a random non-permanent item. And right there I got the Boots of Power, which will give me +1 damage. They will wear out after a certain period of time as equipment has durability. But it's a little nice, very nice at the start there.
And yeah, worth commenting, yeah, both of us in that seat found the entrance to the Lost Woods early on. There are 4 locations with Cadence Caves, and those provide items in a set order. Going to any Cadence Cave the first time will give you the loot, which allows you to fast travel to any activated Sheikah Stones. We'll be using that to cut down travel time a lot. And yeah, both of us here coming up on an essential landmark early on, the Sheikah Stone in front of Hyrule Castle. Hyrule Castle being the end game dungeon. It's good to have a warp point there early on. Little mechanic here that I'm taking advantage of is that once all the enemies on the screen are defeated, you can move freely with no speed restrictions. I will be revisiting that screen several times in the future, most likely, so it can be worth it to clear it so that you have free movement every time you revisit it.
And both of us here are also paying a visit to the Zora Prince and killing this evil spirit, which will grant us the Zora Flippers. This will allow us to swim in water and get to the Frozen Grotto, as well as is useful for another dungeon skip later on for the Gerudo Ruins when we have the Goron Locket, which we can get from the Goron shop, which we found early on.
And yeah, while a lot of the game is randomly generated, there are certain little features that if you can spot, they will give you consistent items. So in my case right there, I saw the single lone iron knuckle in the desert there. When you see that, it will always drop a Ring of Piercing. And Ring of Piercing allows your normal weapon attacks to just bypass any armor or shields. One of the better rings for speedrunning. Although worth noting that rings will drop if you die, or will also break if you take, I believe it's 8 hits from enemies.
Doing this music puzzle here. This will give us the Power Glove, which allows us to grab item blocks and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's also useful for certain dungeon skips.
Yeah, Power Glove is important for some skips, and also makes it a little easier to grab that titanium dagger from off the ledge there. Oh, interesting to see in this race. It looks like Goof. I think you skipped the titanium dagger. Did I see that right?
I skipped the titanium dagger since I have the power boots early on, and I didn't feel like I needed the titanium dagger, so I decided to not waste the extra time to go for them.
Yeah, so pretty early on in the run, you're seeing different approaches to the same seed. Yeah, the titanium dagger is just a straight 1 damage upgrade. It does take a little time to grab, though, so yeah, Goof saving some time by just skipping it.
Now I'm on to Kakariko Crypt here. I hit the Sheikah Stone early on. We're on the way to Gerudo Ruins and warped back so I could do the dungeon.
Yep. Meanwhile,
so kill the shopkeeper here to get the coupon. This will allow me to get that Goron locket in the Goron shop for free.
And meanwhile, you'll notice that I entered and then immediately exited. That's because as I entered checked the minimap on the way in, I realized that the Torch of Wisdom, there's that little circular fountain I've just passed back there, that always has a Torch of Wisdom on it, which shows you all items in chests. So having that for the Kakariko Crypt dungeon can be useful to help spot valuable items and just more quickly route. So I decided to go get that first and also take care of getting into the Temple of Storms while I was up there. So a little bit of route divergence here. And that's part of what makes makes Cadence of Hyrule racing fun and exciting. Until the end game, you really have no idea who's going to come out on top.
I finished Kakariko Crypt, got the Hibiscus Potion to wake Link up, and spent a coupon on the Goron Locket, which makes me immune to lava and hot coals. And doing the Grotto skip here, to skip the second floor, or to skip the first floor of Frozen Grotto, rather, you can grab that ice block as you're sliding, and it will actually allow me to stop sliding.
Yeah, normally on ice you have no control over movement, but you can still use items, and we take advantage of that to just cause the sliding to stop. So I'm killing the Kakariko shopkeep here to go ahead and grab my coupon. Yeah, the coupon again just used to buy that Goron locket from the Goron shop because it's a hefty 200 rupees. And keys are a very important resource in this run, and very often one of the places you get them from are the assorted shops in the dungeons where they cost 50 rupees. So it's important to make sure you have the money to afford keys. So worth noting that since the coupon can only be obtained from killing a Freddy, if you buy something from the Freddy shop with the coupon, he kind of gets mad. So I have to fight him again, just deciding to pick up that key because it was pretty convenient. Goof, meanwhile, taken off ahead and already about to kill his first boss.
Yeah, so what I did there with that quick kill is I have Zelda's special attack Din's Fire, which is a remote-controlled spell where she can control it and then detonate it. But if she takes damage, she will lose control of that spell. So I took intentional damage with a bomb, as well as kicked a Bombchu into the arena so that they both the Din's Fire spell and Bombchu hit with the boss before it even starts and kills him.
And I'm right here doing the first floor Temple of Storm skip. The intended method is to use the Tower Shield upgrade for Link to block the wind. But with some clever bomb boosting positioning, you can actually position yourself in exactly the right way to be able to throw a pot onto that button and skip the first floor of the dungeon. The devs are actually pretty open to the idea of speedrun skips, and there's a way to skip the first floor of every dungeon that is totally intended. In the current version, there is a way to skip the second floor of a dungeon, which is not intended, and we expect to be patched out pretty soon. So you won't be seeing that in these runs, because we always just play on the current version. So we elected to just not do that skip since we expect it'll be patched out by AGDQ.
So here I'm making my way towards the Temple of Storms. There is a method to skip Death Mountain. I'm doing one of them now where I pull the wind turbine down and then move into the screen where the wind turbine would normally be, and it actually despawns it and allows me to get to the temple much quicker than the intended solution. And also, I do this here where I do some get knocked back by the bombs there to throw the pot onto the switch, which allows me to get to the second floor of this dungeon.
Yeah, Goof using a slightly different setup from the one I used. That setup lets you do it without swapping to Link. But it costs 2 bombs and means you have to damage boost yourself twice. So it's a little bit resource intensive, but it is a little faster than having to re-enter and exit the dungeon a few times. And Goof with the absolutely disgusting Wallmaster. Wallmasters in this game will just teleport you to a random location on the dungeon floor. It could be really bad or it could be really good. In this case, it teleported them right to the end of the dungeon.
Yeah, they also deal damage though, so if you have glass weapons or something, be careful when taking.
Yeah, speaking of glass weapons, something we haven't really touched on yet at this point. Yeah, Goof elected to get the flail from the Flawless Victory rewards against Wizrobo, whereas I've just been running random glass pickups. Glass weapons are random drops from mini-bosses and from chests. They are the most powerful weapon type in the game, damage-wise. They deal 3 damage, but they break if you take any damage in turn. So they're very good for speed, but a little unreliable. If you take too many hits, then you're just going to be left with the low damage daggers if you don't bother to get something else. But yeah, meanwhile, Goof went and spent the time to infuse an obsidian flail and is using that as his weapon instead. So, unfortunately, because of the setup for the Wizrobo quick kill requiring that you be able to slide on the ice, and I have glass slippers, which makes me immune to ice, I'm forced to kind of do a normal slow fight there. Because I don't really want to give up the glass slippers. Glass slippers give immunity to all floor hazards, and also give +1 damage, but again, since they're glass, they break if you take damage.
You'll see me going through Gerudo Ruins here.
Same here.
Yeah, we're pretty close. I checked this little wall, check that back there and get an extra key.
We're trying to use the Pegasus Anklet there. Pegasus Anklet is one of the few equipable items, equipable non-weapon items that we actually use in the speedrun when we can get our hands on it. Lets you charge up a dash that can save some time at the cost of stamina, but it can be a little tricky to use.
Yeah, I also something you'll see me do is I like to throw. I threw the bomb chew to the right and then picked it up. And when you throw a bomb or pick up a bomb chew, it'll still throw it. It still goes in that direction. So it was actually able to hit one of those Guitarmos Knights and deal damage to them, which made the fight a little bit quicker. Yeah,
we are seeing there. Some players will, if they go for the weapon infusion, they'll go for titanium, and some will go for obsidian. And we did kind of see the downside of obsidian infused there for Goof. Obsidian deals 3 damage maximum based on your current multiplier. Multiplier builds by getting multiple kills without taking damage or dropping a beat, but drops if you take damage or drop a beat. And it drops all the way to 1 damage when that happens. So that slowed down his base Guitarmos kill quite a bit.
There's 2 methods to skip the second floor of Lost Swamp. The one you'll see me do is throw that block on the switch, which will unlock the stairs to the second floor.
Yeah, both work just about as well. Yeah, pretty close again here. Just about 1 floor ahead of Goof here as I head down to the Gomarakas fight. You can throw bomb chews into the boss arenas before actually spawning the bosses. On a few bosses, it lets you get a little bit of early damage in.
Yeah, bomb chews are very useful.
And yeah, with that,
the boss key room.
yeah, with that glass flail plus the damage from the glass slippers, make pretty quick work of Gomarakas, and that's all 4 instruments, so ready to enter Hyrule Castle. A little bit of Pegasus Anklet use here to save some time. You can do a quick charge for 3 tiles, or a long charge for 5 tile dash.
You'll see Spooty, you have to light up that post to open that door to the Hyrule Castle dungeon. You just throw a bomb up there with the power glove, it will light it up.
And yeah, a little bit of a risky strat back there. Many dungeon floors will spawn with a set of portals that just lead to each other, and oftentimes they lead you closer to the exit. But you don't necessarily know what's on the other side. But Nayru's Love, Zelda's R ability that we picked up right at the beginning of the game, is very good at enabling those strats. It's a very, very powerful defensive ability that you can actually use offensively in many cases. So just popping it right after teleporting through makes it fairly safe. And yeah, unfortunately here, this is where the issues with glass equipment start to show, taking a few hits and breaking the equipment.
And I pick up a Torch of Reflection here, which a Torch of Reflection will, as the name states, reflect projectiles, and you'll see it used a little bit here on these gargoyle statues.
And yeah, I break my glass again, but I spot, thanks to the Torch of Wisdom. Torch of Wisdom, arguably one of the best, arguably the best torch in the game. Showing me that there's these glass slippers here to replace the ones I broke. Get my +1 damage back. So spend a little time for that, in the hopes that it'll save me time in the upcoming boss fight. That said, the time spent going for that allowed Goof to catch right back up, and now it's pretty much even here.
Yeah, I managed to keep my glass, which is actually going to be pretty useful for this. I guess he also has his glass too. Look at that. But I do not have the slippers, unfortunately, so he will be able to actually, with one lunge, be able to one-shot these phases.
Yeah, these phases have 5 HP. Rapiers deal their whatever weapon type their damage, but they'll deal 1 bonus damage if you do a lunge attack. And then plus another damage from the glass slippers means 5 damage. So, current build makes pretty short work of this.
However, you'll see I use this a little trick here with the Pegasus Anklet. If you actually dash into Octavo, it deals damage to the next instrument, which I'm not sure is intended, and I imagine will be patched out soon.
I don't know. We'll see. It's not a major time save, though. It does give you a little bit of time save in certain situations. And yeah, there's again the Pegasus Anklet finish on Octavo, and Goof finishing shortly after as we head on to the final dungeon of the game, Future Hyrule.
Now this dungeon is structured a little differently from the other ones, where you have to gather up keys from either fighting little gauntlets or getting keys from the overworld or from Floor 2 shops, and then fighting a mini-boss in a locked room. In this one, you just go to, or fight a mini-boss and then go down the stairs to the next floor.
Yeah, it's just a straight-up rush through 4 floors. Sometimes the exit can be really close to your starting position, sometimes it's through a brutal series of rooms where you're just having to fight through massive swarms of enemies.
Yeah, it's easy to get a little overwhelmed in this dungeon. And also end up losing a lot of stamina.
Yeah, and there goes a whole bunch of my glass that keys there. Thankfully, even if you break all your glass and end up on very minimal equipment, Nayru's Love, as we mentioned before, is a very powerful ability. Lets you get through, even still fairly quickly, even if you only have a 1 damage dagger. But yeah, wow, neck and neck as we both approach the final Ganon fight here.
Yeah, now, for the first 2 phases, you're normally supposed to free one of the characters and then hit him 3 times, but you'll see me do some strats here where if you plant a bomb and disable the barrier or his shield by just reflecting it with Nayru's Love, can actually deal 2 hearts of damage with a bomb.
Yeah, bombs deal double damage to a fight. Yeah, it's intended that you free the characters and hit the shield with one and then attack with the other. But with solo bomb strats, you can save some time. And yeah, I'm on to the last phase here, third phase. You just gotta free all the characters from the ice and get them onto the Triforce pedestals. And yeah, there's the finish for me. Goof, not too far behind, missing a couple cycles though, putting him a little bit behind.
Yeah, in the second phase, he can spawn mini bosses, and it's a little easy to get overwhelmed. So
Yeah, this fight can get
you know,
very out of hand, but yeah, getting
very
onto
out
the
of hand. And you can see a little bit in this third phase here, where he spawns a Dark Nut, and knocks Cadence off of her Triforce piece. But I
yeah.
managed to get the clear as well, not too far behind.
Yeah, that little ring of courage there, making you overshoot the final Triforce pedestal there for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, very close race. As you can see, final in-game times 18:12, 18:12 for me, and an 18:38 for Goof. So yeah, despite all of the differences in routing, the differences in build philosophies, ended up being a pretty close race. And
Yes.
yeah, we did a whole bunch of races this night, and they were all pretty much within like 30 seconds of each other. So yeah, I think race has a lot of potential. Despite there being so much randomness, you'll find that top level players are often finishing pretty close to each other. I think it could make for a very exciting race. Hope you'll consider it. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Spoony Biscuit.
I'm RoyalGoof.
And yeah, take care.